Good morning, everyone. I'm Chip Abramovic, Venango County Commissioner and the 2023 President of the County Commissioners Association of Pennsylvania. Thank you all to all the media representation here today and supporters that are joining us. Just a few housekeeping items before we begin. When the presentation concludes, there will be an opportunity to take questions you may have. I am joined by members of our policy committee chairs who will be presenting the 2023 legislative priorities chosen by counties across this great Commonwealth. For the coming year, Pennsylvania counties have selected 6 priorities that represent their proactive legislative agenda. These priorities were selected by our members as the issues with the greatest significance and the most potential for positive impact to the counties this coming year. Achieving these priorities will improve county government, but more importantly, they will improve our communities and the lives of those we were elected to serve. Our 2023 legislative priorities include 911 funding and reauthorization, county inmates with mental health issues, county mental health base funding increase, address the needs of children and youth who have complex behavioral health issues, broadband access and deployment, and promote election integrity. These priorities reflect our ongoing commitment to providing quality service while using taxpayer dollars the most effective and efficient way as possible. We believe these 2023 priorities reflect county needs that are essential for us to continue to successfully provide critical services to Pennsylvania residents, services that affect our everyday lives, our health, our safety, and our democracy. We seek a strong partnership with the new administration and the General Assembly to advance these priorities to achieve meaningful reforms. So let's get started with our first priority, which is 911 funding and reauthorization. While our priorities span many responsibilities of counties, CCAP's top priority for 2023 focuses on 911 funding and reauthorization. Counties are proud to provide one of the key functions in public safety, the operation of the 911 call taking and dispatch system. As technologies continue to evolve and funding streams no longer align with current realities, counties need to be able to rely on consistent and sustainable funding to maintain their responsibility as first-line emergency responders. Counties are actively working with PEMA, legislative committees, emergency management professionals, the communication industries, and other interests on improvements to our current 911 system. Paramount to this effort is moving forward and investing in Next Generation 911, also known as NG 911, to support current and future measures that people can use to communicate in an emergency. It will also work towards improving our system efficiencies through shared infrastructure and network connection for 911 public safety answering points statewide, providing accurate GIS information and better regional systems to assure availability and, most importantly, reliability. A strong connected 911 system is critical to ensuring services can still be provided efficiently in situations of mass emergencies and can keep us with the pace of ever-changing technology advances to maximize the emergency services in which we deliver. As part of this top priority, Pennsylvania counties support developing a funding formula well ahead of the January 31st, 2024 sunset of our current state's 911 statute that adequately supports current county needs and also ensures that funding sources and distribution support needs into the future. We will also urge the continued strategic planning and investment for evolving technologies and GIS data to ensure Next Gen 911 is properly supported and maintained. Achieving this priority would ensure all Pennsylvania residents and visitors of our great Commonwealth will continue to have a quick and efficient connection to 911 operation and services in any situation, regardless of geography, location, or time of day. So with that being done, I would like to introduce Dauphin County Commissioner and Chair of the CCAP Human Services Committee, George Hartwick, to discuss in greater detail our goals related to mental health-based funding, county inmates with mental health issues, and needs of children and youth who have complex behavioral health issues. George?
Thank you, President Abramovich, and there we go, on cue. I'm proud to stand here with a group of colleagues from across the state of Pennsylvania who we work closely with to be able to present a bipartisan picture of the needs of counties. The county priorities that I'm responsible for discussing today involve county inmates with mental health issues, county mental health base funding increase, and addressing the needs of children and youth who have complex behavioral health needs. Pennsylvania counties are responsible for providing critical mental health services to our residents of all ages and backgrounds. Counties deliver these services on behalf of the state, and these services must be properly funded to ensure that residents are able to care for those who are in need. Lack of adequate state funding that has failed to keep up with demand, coupled with growing caseloads and cost inflation, have pushed the community mental health system to the point of collapse. It is probably one of the most crumbled systems in all of our human service delivery systems. It simply cannot be understated the importance of increasing annual investments in the state mental health community-based funding to help counties maintain and rebuild the existing safety net of services before adding any additional programs and services. Furthermore, counties need prompt action to allocate the $100 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds to mental health in line with the Behavioral Health Commission's recommendations, while continuing to work towards a longer-term, sustainable funding solution. A specific portion of this effort must be directed to county jails. Unfortunately, county jails have become a de facto state hospitals following years of deinstitutionalization of individuals with mental illness. And let me tell you folks, mental illness is not a crime. When unmet behavioral health challenges lead to criminal charges, individuals are often committed to jails that are not equipped to address the needs of people who need mental health treatment, resulting in poor outcomes for those individuals and for their communities. As part of this priority, counties look forward to working closely with the Shapiro administration and the legislature to find alternatives to placing inmates who have mental illnesses in jail and cooperating with other providers to maintain a continuity of care for inmates that are returned to the counties. Achieving this priority would mean individuals with mental health issues would have access to services and diversion programs to keep them out of jail. Finally, we must address the needs of children and youth who have complex behavioral health needs. Counties have extreme challenges in obtaining safe places for children to stay when they are unable to remain in his or her own home due to complications created by complex needs, such as acute substance abuse, mental health and or developmental disabilities, as well as physical health challenges. In recent years, there have been an increasing number of children in need of mental health or behavioral health services outside of the home whom no provider is willing or able to accept because they require more intensive treatment or create a safety threat to the other individuals that are served. In 2023, we hope to work very closely with the Department of Human Services to develop a partnership role for addressing complex cases while developing contracting standards for no eject, no reject policies for those difficult to serve kids. Achieving this priority would mean children with mental health issues are able to have appropriate placements where they can have adequate oversight and proper treatment based on their individual needs. It is my pleasure at this point to turn over the mic and invite Mifflin County Commissioner and Chair of the CCAP Community and Economic Development Committee, Rob Postal, to discuss our goals related to our next priority, broadband access and development.
Thank you, Commissioner. The collective future of Pennsylvanians hinges on addressing the challenges to broadband expansion that are preventing access to opportunities and information to many of our neighbors. We have come a long way in addressing the digital divide, but funding remains one of the greatest needs to expand access to broadband. With the promise of billions of dollars in federal investment, the development of a state broadband plan, and maps now publicly available from the FCC, Pennsylvania is on the path forward. But these steps are just beginning of implementing the strategic, thoughtful approaches to bring broadband access to all Pennsylvanians. We must continue identifying and sharing successful approaches that can be successfully used by other communities. As part of this priority, counties look to partner with the state and other stakeholders to leverage data, develop needed informational resources, and build on strategies that help increase broadband infrastructure and services. Running parallel with that, we look to identify funding and work with stakeholders to ensure these investments are responsibly allocated to best fit the areas of greatest need. Achieving this priority would mean every Pennsylvanian would have the ability to adequately, safely, and affordably access the internet, regardless of income, geography, or individual circumstance. I would like now to turn it over to Snyder County Commissioner and Chair of CCAP's Elections Reform Committee, Joe Cans, who will detail the goals relating to our final priority, promoting election integrity. Commissioner.
Thank you, Rob. Elections continue to be a hot topic in Pennsylvania and beyond. Counties take their responsibility for a fair, secure, and accurate administration of Pennsylvania's elections very seriously and need clear rules that enable consistent implementation across the Commonwealth. Reforms to Pennsylvania's election code are needed to resolve ambiguities and help counties continue to promote the integrity of our elections. Counties are in favor of extending the pre-canvassing period to allow ample time for counties to prepare mail-in ballots and absentee ballots for tabulation so that accurate results can be provided as soon as possible. In addition, counties support moving back the deadline for absentee and mail-in ballot applications to 15 days prior to an election so that voters can be confident there is plenty of time for their county to process the application and for the ballot to be mailed from the county to the voter and back again. To achieve efficient and understandable guidelines, counties must be involved in discussions on any election law reforms at the earliest possible point to create positive, meaningful, and effective election policy moving forward. And at this point, I would like to turn it back over to Commissioner Chip Abramik for some closing statements.
Thank you all. So that was intentional, so you guys were paying attention in a way when Commissioner Hartwick spoke. I just wanted to pull everyone back in. So that concludes our top 6 legislative priorities sought by 67 counties this year. As you heard, many of our 2023 legislative priorities depend upon a strong partnership with the Shapiro administration and the General Assembly to move forward with meaningful reforms. Counties in Pennsylvania will work hard to engage our partners and provide our residents with the best possible services we have access to. While there are many other legislative and regulatory proposals that will require our attention this year, these 6 priorities represent the issues most pressing to our counties and where we intend to focus our primary efforts. We'll call on Governor Shapiro and the General Assembly to continue their active engagement with counties to ensure that the critical duties we provide as partners with the state are properly structured and funded. That partnership is critical to counties' mission to effectively maintain healthy, safe, resilient communities that we are all elected to represent. All of us present today and our colleagues in the counties across this great Commonwealth extend a hand in partnership in this effort. We will continue to offer creative ideas to empower counties to maintain programs and services in the face of fiscal realities. Together, we can implement solutions that better reflect the needs of Pennsylvanians, improve stewardship of taxpayer dollars, reduce costs, increase local flexibility, and assure the quality of the services that we provide. You can find a detailed listing of all the priorities with additional detail on the CCAP website at www.pacounties.org. And at this time, we will open up for questions.
So with a new legislative session, a new House, a new governor, so forth, what has been the conversation about how to get some of these priorities across the finish line. And I guess to kind of reframe that a little bit, like, what is your sense that you can get some of these things across the finish line, considering that the makeup of this legislative body has changed?
Well, the opportunity presents itself because we have potentially a couple months now that they're in break to come and start it early, get them in their home districts potentially as our group of commissioners in their respective regions. But also with the new administration, there's been a couple commissioners who have been put into the administration that understands counties and understands the priorities we have. And working on those relationships that we have with them, and also an opportunity to work with the new administration and the General Assembly as we come through these times, we have a great opportunity to advance them.
Do you see a divided House as a challenge?
I see there's an opportunity, and I believe we do as well, because we have an opportunity for a bipartisan effort to bring the House potentially divided, but we can bring them together on common bipartisan issues.
Hi, good morning. Mark Scalfor with AP. Hey, did you all consider, or do you think there is any need for legislation in regard to the so-called recount petitions? Is that something that is on your radar, or that you think the legislature or legislation might be good to address?
Did you say the recount petitions?
Right.
That potentially, I will turn that over.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you were, what?
The recount petitions that occurred in many counties that went to court.
Okay.
And there is some thought that that there's I don't know, maybe a gap in the law or an issue with the law. Do you guys see it that way? Is that a priority maybe going forward? Did you consider it?
So I live fairly close to Lycoming County where the recount took place.
It was in like 17 counties.
I'm talking about the most recent one that just happened last week.
Right, but these were petitions, these are the ones that came out of the election. That group of recount petitions that was in like multiple counties. Lycoming was for 2020.
Yes,
right.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so we're working hard every day at CCAP and in our counties to make sure that every vote counts. We've got to make sure that we do our best with the laws that are provided to us. So the reason I think that we're calling on the legislature to take away some of the ambiguities in Act 77, which is where a lot of these things are revolving around. So if the law is not clear, giving us clear direction on what counties can and cannot do, we need direction, because if we don't have that clear answers in the law, it's being left up to the courts to decide how we move forward. And that doesn't make it easy to run elections, as you can imagine. So it's making sure we're asking the legislature to fix some of those things that, let's face it, it was 80 years in the making to get to Act 77. So it took a long time to get those changes and comprehensive changes in Act 77 to get to this point. Obviously, when you do that much, there may be some things that were overlooked. So we've got to go back to the legislature and say, after having this law for 2 or 3 or 4 years, here are the issues that we're dealing with our election staff. These are the problems that we see. This is where we need some fixing. So that's why we're coming back and saying, please let us be at the table as we fix these ambiguities so that we have clear, decisive way to move forward in administering those elections.
Sir, while you're up there, I mean, does CCAP have a preference on the length of the pre-canvassing window? 7 days was mooted at one point, 15 days was discussed at one point. Are you looking for something specifically, something in the middle?
Sure. I mean, we've asked for anything up to, I've even heard up to 21 days when Governor Wolf was in office. And so, we're just looking for help to get some time so that we have time to pre-canvass those ballots and get them ready for the tabulation on election day. Some smaller counties might be able to handle it on election day. A lot of larger counties where you're getting hundreds of thousands of ballots in, the mail-in and absentee process, as you can imagine, takes a lot of time to open those envelopes, backbend the ballots, and get them ready for processing and tabulation. So any time that we can get would be helpful. We would love to see, 7 days, but we'll be at the table asking for whatever we can get, because we need something more than what we have now.
I didn't just throw that on Joe. Him and Shireen Hess from Indiana County lived and breathed Act 77. They're the experts, not me.
How would you describe the working relationship with the Shapiro administration versus the Wolf administration?
Well, I guess at this point it's been positive, and we had a great relationship with the Wolf administration halfway through his second term. With COVID shutdowns, we had bi-weekly meetings and conversations with him from our executive team We built a real strong relationship there. And Governor Shapiro, coming out of county government before he was elected to the AG, has been an opportunity that we believe we can really capitalize on and have a great working relationship because he does understand counties. But what are we, a week in today? So we're a week and a day in today, so we'll figure out as time comes, but we're very optimistic on what our future holds with the administration. Any other questions? Well, hearing none, I would like to thank you all for your time. We greatly appreciate you being here today, and wish you all the best to a great new legislative session that will hopefully be starting in February, and we'll be here to support, help, and defend our counties that we represent. So thank you all.